I've also brought with me to the lovely woods here in Woodbury one of my favorite storybooks. And this is a book that we have read in the Discovery Room more than once, I think. But since it's one of our favorite ones, maybe you can help me tell the story, or you can tell the story to your families at home. Now, if you look at the cover, what do you think this story could be about? Look very closely. Some children will already know exactly what it's called. And some children will have to look at the cover and think, what does that look like? I'm going to read the title for you here. It's these words, Jack and the Beanstalk. And also on the cover are the author and illustrator. The author is Richard Walker, and the illustrator is Nave Sharkey. Now, Jack and the Beanstalk is an old folk tale. So the author is one of the authors, but many different people like to tell this book and this story. So there's many different Jack and the Beanstalk books, but the illustrator only illustrated this Jack and the Beanstalk book. Oh, there's our title page, and the title again, Jack and the Beanstalk. You can tell it says Beanstalk because of the letter B. I'm going to read the first words right here. Now, I'm not going to start by saying that Jack was lazy. When there was an adventure in the offing, he was not lazy at all. But most of the time, he just did a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Now, Jack lived with his mom and Daisy the cow in a tumble-down farmhouse a little way out of town. Jack's mom also liked to do just a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They didn't have very much money, but they didn't very much care. But then they had a problem. Do you remember what that problem was? You might be able to tell from the picture. Then one day, there was nothing left to eat, not even a crust of old bread, and there was no money left either to buy anything. "It's no good, Jack," his mom said. "We'll have to sell poor old Daisy. You had better get up early tomorrow morning and take her to the market and make sure you get a good price for her." Oh my. Jack knew better than to argue. Besides, he was very hungry. So the next day he got up at sunrise. That's very early. Oof, some children get up at sunrise. And set off down the lane with Daisy in tow. He had not gone far when he came around a corner and bumped into a funny little man. Do you remember what the funny little man will do? He's going to offer something to Jack. Say something and say, "Would you like to do this?" Let's see what it is. The man was wearing a big baggy jacket with big baggy pockets. "Good morning to you," said the little man. "That's a nice looking cow you have there. Do you fancy doing a swap for her?" He wants to trade something he has for the cow, Daisy. What do you think he's going to trade? Remember. Jack remembered what his mom had told him, so he asked, "What will you give me in exchange?" "These," declared the funny little man, and plunging his hand deep into one of his pockets, he pulled out 6 plump beans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. "Those?" asked Jack. "Yes," said the funny little man. "These. Now, don't think that these are just ordinary beans. Oh, no. These are magic beans, but you will have to be careful with them. I've lost the instructions for them, so I'm not sure what they will do." Ooh, what are they going to do? Well, there was nothing Jack loved better than magic. So he handed over Daisy and took the beans and hurried home. Oh, I wonder, how is his mother going to feel about him trading the cow for magic beans? How would your family feel? As soon as he reached the back door, Jack burst into the kitchen and proudly threw the beans down on the table. "What's this?" exclaimed his mom. "Oh dear," thought Jack. That's right, his mother was not happy. They're magic beans, Mom. I swapped them for Daisy. At least we've got something to eat. Well, we will when they've grown. Jack's mom was furious. What do you think furious means? Really, really, really angry. Yes. She went white in the face and shouted and stamped her feet. Then she threw open the window and flung the beans outside. That night, Jack and his mom went to bed feeling miserable, oh, that word again, and hungry. Look what's happening to the beans. But in the garden, things began to happen. These things are happening outside here in the woods, too. The beans slipped through the cracks in the ground. Their roots wriggled deep into the earth and shoots pushed upwards. They burst through the hard crust of the soil and twisting and tangling together, they grew high into the sky. They kept on growing and growing until they reached the land of the clouds. Now there is something special, magical up in the land of the clouds. Then a long, wiry tendril reached down to the house and tapped on Jack's bedroom window. "Who's that?" Jack yawned. He saw strange shadows in the moonlit window, and not sure whether it was a dream or a real adventure, he padded across the room and drew back his curtains. What did he see outside? Looked like something out here. There, bending and swaying in the moonlight, was the most enormous beanstalk he had ever seen. "I wonder where the top of it goes," Jack said to himself. Well, you know, there's only one way to find out about that. He had to go up. Would you go up if you were Jack? I don't know. You'd have to be very brave. Well, without stopping to think twice, he clambered over the windowsill and started to climb, and soon the house was just a tiny dot far below, and still he made his way upward. How tall do you think the beanstalk is? Finally, he reached the land of the clouds and stepped off the beanstalk into the fluffy gray ground. The ground was made out of clouds. That's how high it was. He could see a huge castle. Jack walked straight up to it and knocked. He heard the clink of keys being turned, the rumble of bars being slid back, and the rattle of chains being unfastened. And then at last the huge door creaked open with a crack. And he saw a little old woman peering at him, holding a little candle. The light of the candle. How is Jack going to get inside? What will he say? You can't come in, she whispered. He'll be back soon. Go away. Those are those big words right here. Go away. Please, Jack begged. I'm a stranger here and I'm starving, hungry. Can't I just pop in quickly for one little something to eat? Just a little crumb. The woman looked at him more closely and saw that he was a nice-looking lad with a ready smile. Very well, you can come in for a minute, she said, but don't let him catch sight of you. Who do you think he is? Who's he? Asked Jack as they made their way along the dusty castle corridors to the big kitchen. Lining the walls were mounds of huge bulging sacks. What do you think was inside of those sacks? That's right, gold, golden coins. So many of them. The giant, of course. If he catches you, he'll eat you for sure. He's got a foul temper, so you'd better keep out of his way. Hide amongst the sacks if you hear him coming. Then, just as she finished speaking, there was a crash of heavy footsteps outside the room. Jack only just managed to hide behind a heap of sacks when the door burst open and in barged the giant. Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell a stinky man. Where is he, woman? Where are you hiding him? The giant around the room until he came close to where Jack was hiding. He took a big sniff. But Then the old woman said, "Oh, don't be silly. All you smell is the stew I've made you. Try a bowl of it. I was sure you would love it." Well, soon the giant had slurped his way through an enormous bowl of stew. He belched loudly, "Ugh," then demanded, "Fetch me my goose. I want some more gold." A goose. I wonder how we'll get gold from a goose. The old woman slipped out of the room and was soon back cradling a huge, gloomy-looking bird. Do you know what gloomy can mean? Kind of a little sad, gray. Ugh, poor bird. Peeping out from his hiding place, Jack watched as the goose began to lay eggs. Each one of them was pure gold, golden eggs. As each egg appeared, the giant put it into a giant egg box. Then he demanded, "Now fetch me my harp. I want some music." Oh, the giant is not very polite. Once again, the old woman bustled out of the room and came back holding an exquisite, very beautiful harp made also of pure gold. Even the strings were golden. "Play, harp, play," shouted the giant. And as if by magic, the room was filled with the most beautiful, gentle music as the strings began to vibrate and play all by themselves. And soon the giant had fallen asleep and was snoring very loudly. Well, Jack had to take this opportunity. He crept out from his hiding place and quietly began to drag one of the bulging sacks full of coins across the kitchen floor. It was very heavy and it jingled as he pulled it, but the giant did not stir. He heaved and dragged the sack all of the way out of the castle, across the clouds, and to the top of the beanstalk. But how is he going to get it down? It's very heavy. He had to think. The sack was too heavy for him to carry any further, so he left it up there and slid down quickly. Ooh, he's going to solve his problem. When he reached home, Jack found his mom staring at the beanstalk, scratching her head, wondering what he was doing and where he was. "Rope!" cried Jack as he sprang to the ground. He ran off to the shed and came back a few moments later with great coils wrapped around him. Then he set back up the beanstalk. After a while, he felt the rope become loose. He knew that the sack had reached the ground safely and that his mom had untied it. He tied it around the sack and let it go. He lowered it to the ground. Jack headed back to the kitchen to fetch another sack as he crept past the giant. The goose looked up hopefully and whispered, "Can I come too? I don't like it here. You wouldn't need to take the sack then. I could lay you as many golden eggs as you want." Well, what do you think Jack said? Absolutely. So Jack picked her up and ran out of the room. In the corridor, he bumped into the old woman. "Can I come with you as well?" she asked. "Of course," said Jack. "Here, you take the goose and I'll go back for the harp." Oh, there's going to be a problem now. What will the harp do when he tries to get it? But as Jack picked up the harp, it suddenly cried out, "What's going on? Who are you? Help, help!" Jack raced out of the kitchen just as the giant woke up. He saw what was happening and began to give chase. That means he ran after him. Oh, Jack, oh no. Faster and faster ran Jack. Closer and closer came the giant. As he reached the top of the beanstalk, Jack could feel the giant's hand on the hairs of the back of his neck. It's right here. "Quick!" he shouted. The old woman started slithering down with the goose. Jack slithered down behind her with the harp. They could hear the giant shouting as he tried to follow them. How are they going to stay safe from the giant now? The beanstalk bent and swayed wildly, first to the left, then to the right, but the old woman and Jack reached the ground safely. Jack grabbed the rope. He pulled and pulled and pulled until he could see the giant hanging on for dear life and glaring down at him angrily. Then he let go. What is going to happen to the giant? This is one of our favorite pages, if you've read the book before. Boing! Oh, it was just like a catapult. The beanstalk shot upright like an enormous catapult. That's a machine that throws things with tension and force. Unable to hold on any longer, the giant flew off the end. He soared away into space and was never seen again. And as far as I know, he's still there. What do you think the giant is doing in space now? Have to look up at night and see if you see him up there. I haven't seen him, but maybe you have a better eye than I do. The old woman went inside to make a pot of tea. Mom put the golden harp on the kitchen dresser, and Jack made the magic goose a special hut. He put the sack of gold in the cellar and took out a coin whenever he needed to buy something. And the last time I went to visit, the harp played jigs and reels, so we all had a merry dance. The end. Now I have some questions to see how much you remember. Maybe I can trick you. Ooh, what should my first question be? Oh, I know. What woke up the giant when he was sleeping? Something woke up the giant, so he saw Jack and began to chase him. Do you remember what it was? Let's look. Where's that page? Oh, it's later. Oh, he's still sleeping there. Still sleeping. Oh, he's getting the goose. Still sleeping. He's awake on this page. But as Jack picked up the harp, it suddenly cried out, "What's going on? Who are you? Help, help!" The giant woke up. It was the harp that began to talk and cry out, waking up the giant. Well, if you were Jack and you didn't get any magic beans, I've never gotten any magic beans, but you had to get some food for dinner and you had Daisy the cow to sell and your mom to help you, what would you do if you didn't have any magic beans? I think there must be other ways to solve that problem, and I think that you could think of some. Well, we're going to put this story away for now, and I'll be reading other stories that you can listen to, and you can put your ideas and your answers with your family, with adults, in the comments underneath and on our Facebook page, and then I'll be able to read them and talk back to you.